Hello and welcome to Across the Formation. I'm Ulion Che. Here is with Will Gavin and Sam Harris. I wanted to tell everybody now that actually, from where I'm from Norfolk, and the way that my name should be pronounced is Uli Unche.
No, it's not, mate. Even I didn't buy that.
Yeah, no, it
I
is.
I was amazed that so I did NFL Daily at the end of last week, as you boys well know, and we talked about the Travis Achan thing. That Travis Etienne is now Travis Achan because that's how it would be pronounced in Creole. I made a random Phil Jagielka, Neil Warnock reference, and that's got the most comments on both their Spotify and YouTube thing, is the fact that Neil Warnock's been referenced on an American NFL podcast. So pretty proud of that, not gonna lie.
Well done.
That's very
Well
good.
done.
Well done. Well
Neil
done.
will be very proud as well with that, knowing that he's travelled all the way across the pond.
Yeah,
He
we're
would
looking for
be.
a little backhander at the end of it as well. Oh,
That's Harry Redknapp, isn't it?
Quick one on that Etienne one, right? Are you going to go first and start calling him Achan? Or are you just going to stick with Etienne?
No, I absolutely, and I think Carl Brandt was bang on about it on GMFB today. Like, you own your name. If we're mispronouncing it, tell us we're mispronouncing it. People aren't going to be like. It's not like when Andy Cole tried to become Andrew Cole or Andy Johnson tried to become Andrew Johnson. Like, we all looked at that and went, absolutely not. That we've known you as the same thing for 15 years. We're football fans. We're not changing that.
Yeah.
This is like the local pronunciation of your name. We will do our best to try and do it. You know, I mean, Ollie is a king of this already with his Brazilian pronunciations and everything. And with the amount of like South Sea Islanders and stuff that we pronounce in the NFL already, just tell us, just let us know. We're pronouncing it wrong. What I'm actually more thrown by is that I would say Travis Achan is still not how it should be properly pronounced in Creole. Like, we should be doing it almost like full French, like Etienne, like Saint Etienne, the football team, or the 90s indie band. But he says Achan. I'm going to say Achan from here on out. Not that I have to worry about that because he's not a Jaguar anymore, so we won't be commentating on him at Wembley or at Tottenham.
What about Trevor, though? Are we going with his brother?
What about Trevor?
Yeah, we're going with his brother as well, Achan.
Well, yeah, of course you are, because that's the pronunciation of the name.
Yeah, but he hasn't come out. He hasn't come out and said it wants it different, does he? So
yes, because he's not made a big free agency move to Narlands. Of course, we're seeing them in Paris, so we'll do it there. He hasn't done a press conference yet. He'll come in. It'll be the start of the season. He'll do a press conference, and the first question he'll be asked is, "How should we say your name, mate?" Yeah,
I really hope it's
South
you
London
doing
bloke,
that.
so, yeah.
I really hope it's you. Oh, mate,
Fella.
He should be happy that anyone's saying his name.
bit hard. Whoa, bit hard. There's so many. It's like your Will Gavin this week. So mean.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've come in. I'm going to say, I know it was spicy last week. Much better mindset this week, much cheerier. And it's not like the topic of today's show is in any way going to encourage us to get in any way Larry again, considering that we've decided to pivot away from what everyone else is doing, here's the free agencies we like, and do a whole show about the ones that we didn't like and the teams that got worse. I think we should do it as here's the teams that got worse, but we are going to give you reasons to be cheerful if we can.
We were also trying to, just to let the listeners in on our little pre-show meeting, which goes on for hours, by the way, definitely not 10 minutes. Sorry.
All right, fella.
What just happened there? Are you giggling to yourself?
I'm laughing at Chelsea in the background who have just missed an open goal, and it completely threw me off. I am so sorry. I know you'd enjoy that.
Is it still 7-2 to PSG?
It's 2-0, but my God, it should be about 5. In fact, I'm probably going to turn it off at half time because it's distracting me. I completely lost my train of thought. Let's go with the worst.
Before we do that, Big breaking news today, Ollie Hunter. What are you on about? Jaylen Waddle is now a Denver Bronco.
Oh, yeah.
The Denver Bronco were the Denver Broncos, the only team who hadn't signed an outside free agent and still haven't signed an outside free agent during this entire free agency period to start the new year. But they have made a big splash today, trading away the 30th overall pick, a late third and a late fourth, in exchange for Jaylen Waddle and a better fourth round pick as well. They were desperate for juice on that offense. As much as they were a team who got to the AFC Championship game last year, I just wasn't buying that bringing back J.K. Dobbins, bringing back 31-year-old Cortland Sutton, bringing back a tight end who was bottom 5 in the league in terms of yards after the catch. None of it would necessarily sung as an offense last year. They were winning games in the fourth quarter. Now they have some proper juice as Jaylen Waddle comes in and is part of that kind of 3-punch with Cortland Sutton, with Evan Ingram. I cannot tell you how much I love this for the Denver Broncos. I think when you've got a pick like 30, you have to look at what this year's draft looks like. And you can say we can get a good player there. We may even get a great player there. But the chance we're going to get a real difference maker are pretty slim. He's still only 27, turning 28. He's still got a lot left in the tank. I absolutely love them going out and getting Jaylen Waddle. And it sounds like this was a deal that they have been working on for a long time. And for the Dolphins, they had a chance to get a first and a third from the Bills back at the trade deadline. They decided they didn't want to trade him in division. They decided to keep him around. And so to get the same deal, basically, from the Denver Broncos, a slightly lower pick, but I think they've done really well for themselves as well. And well, we'll get into the Dolphins side of it, but they have the most ridiculous draft this year. 7 picks inside the top 100, 4 picks in the third round. They are ready to restart.
Yeah, I really love this move. I thought Sutton has been a really, really underrated wide receiver in the league since he's been in there, really. And to get someone like Jaylen Waddle who's going to complement him so well, I think you put it perfectly well. The best way to look at this is that realistically, are you going to get someone at that pick? If that's what you're looking for in this year's draft, you're not. I think, as you mentioned as well, he's got so much gas in the tank. I mean, he's only a couple of years removed from that massive deal that he got. So he's obviously a tidy player.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a great move for him to be with a team who has absolute pedigree. That defense hasn't been dismantled. The offense did need just that little extra. Marvin Mims, they couldn't rely on him. Troy Franklin as well. Now they've got that bona fide, what is a 1B, probably maybe a 1C in the if we're ranking all of the wide receivers in the league. And I think a good deal for the Broncos. And, pick 30 is basically the top of the second round anyway. So I think it's a really, really nice deal. But as for the Miami Dolphins, it just shows that they are really looking at the future and trying to, they bring in this Malik Willis who they're really banking on, but they're now taking away all of his weapons, or his most significant weapon yet. What does that say to you, Will? Does that mean does it make you think that they are all in on Malik Willis, like some people do think, or are they looking further down the line at a different QB?
I think it gives them both options is the key. And what I do like here, and we talk about this a huge amount, is that this is a proper rebuild, a proper reset. You are coming in with a new GM, a new head coach. When John Eric Sullivan stepped up and said at the press conferences at the Combine, we want to get a quarterback in first. We want to build around that quarterback, and nobody is off the trade block. I don't think I completely agree with that. I think they will keep the left tackle, Patrick Paul. I think that Aaron Brewer, while he's a free agent at the end of this year, he'll be kept around as well. They've got to extend him. But outside of that, they are saying, look, we have $99 million in dead cap money from Tua Tagovailoa alone, but we just know that he's not the answer. So we are going to take the hard year. We are going to go and pick a load of young players. We're going to accept that we're going to be a 3-4 win team this year, but we're going to grow hugely with those young players, and we're going to try and do a proper rebuild. Because how often do you hear about these teams who say they're rebuilding, but they don't move on from the 28, 29, 30-year-old star pass rusher, star wide receiver, guy who might only have 2 or 3 years left in the tank, guy who's never going to be on that team when that team is good. Think about the Cleveland Browns and Myles Garrett offering him $40+ million a year, when actually if they were truly serious about rebuilding from the ground up, they could have gone and got 2 firsts plus for him and really built up. And instead, they're never going to be a good team while Myles Garrett is there. The Raiders is a more interesting one, maybe, with Max Crosby, because we like what the kind of free agency moves they've made. Maybe they can be interesting, but it's still unlikely they're going to be a playoff team and a contender while Max Crosby is there. The Dolphins have fully accepted we've got to eat our lumps here. They've got $175 million in dead money this year. 50+ million from Tua, 28 million plus from Tyreek Hill, 26 million plus from Jaylen Waddle, 20 million plus from Jalen Ramsey, 13 million from Mika Fitzpatrick, 11 million from Bradley Chubb, 11 million from Teron Armstead. They're still over the cap, and nobody on their current roster is earning more than $11 million a year. That's absolutely astonishing. But next year, they've got cap space. And this year, they've got 7 picks in the top 100. They've got 2 picks in the first round. One of 5 teams have got 2 picks in the first round this year. They can do everything with it. Maybe they trade down from 11 to pick up some more stock. Maybe they decide that, they want to go and pick 7 good young players and try and rebuild with it. Maybe they could trade up. I think it's unlikely that they'll do that because the cupboards are so bare, but I'm really positive in the position that they've put themselves in. And what it does for Malik Willis is it's like, yes, John Eric Sullivan has come out and said he's backing him. Yes, Jeff Hafley knows him better than almost anyone else in the league, having gone up against him as the backup and the scout team quarterback for so long while he was in Green Bay. The question for me is, okay, can he take that excellent third down production? Can he take those great cameos and turn it into a 17-game starting season where he looks like a good quarterback? But if he doesn't, both the 2027 and 2028 drafts look like good quarterback drafts. The Dolphins have put themselves in a position where everything is on the table, where if it's not going to work out with Malik Willis, they have a chance to pivot. I think they've set themselves up better than anyone I can remember in recent memory to do a proper rebuild. And this is a proper win-win trade.
I think if obviously getting through next year, and obviously they don't expect to do much of anything, and then they do get a high pick, and it might not be someone they're completely ready to start, they still then have the buffer of being like to Malik Willis, well, okay, we're going to give you a few games to start the new season. And then you're like, yeah.
Say Malik Willis is good this year, but being a young team, being the cupboards are bare, having no money to spend, all that stuff means they do only win 3 or 4 games, right? And they're picking in the top 2, 3, even number 1 next year. But they like Malik Willis. Suddenly, you've got a quarterback-rich draft, a bunch of quarterback-needy teams, and a pick that someone's going to give you 3 first-round picks for. Suddenly, you're like, well, we've just picked 7 guys in the top 100 last year. We're really happy with 4 or 5 of them. They're proper starters. And now we've got a chance to go and pick 3 guys in the first round this year. So different to, and I'm not picking on them by saying this, but it's so different to what the Jets have done and should have done this year, is that the Jets have got 2 first-round picks this year and 3 first-round picks next year, one of which is like the Cowboys or Packers pick, whichever one is higher. Like, that in itself is mind-blowing. Why aren't you just going, right, let's get rid of the coaching staff, let's get rid of the GM, and let's rebuild from the ground up properly? Both those AFC East teams could be doing it, and you're seeing 2 very different approaches. We talked about this with the Jets last week. Their mindset is still going to be, we want to win now because we need to keep our jobs. If I'm Aaron Glenn, if I'm Joe Shane, I'm trying to keep my job. The Dolphins have been told by the ownership, they've been told, we understand it's a rebuild, we are backing you in doing so, and yeah, we're going to have to eat some pap over the next 2 years, but actually we could be in a better position to be a contending team after that. I think the Jets have put themselves in that limbo that I was talking about of like, you're going to have to reset next year and change everything. And thankfully, you've already got the 3 firsts next year, but I think they've given themselves way less flexibility than the Dolphins have.
There's a team on the top of my tip of my tongue, at the top of my head, that have done this recently, and you'll know who it is, Will Gavin. But who was the team that did that reset really recently that kind of cleared house, and there are anyway. Whilst you think about that, David Ajabo,
Is it the Denver
Scott,
Broncos? Could it
I
be
think
the team that have gone and traded for Jaylen Waddle?
I think it might be. I think
Because
it
Russell
is.
Wilson, obviously, like they
Seahawks.
were,
I'm going to say Seahawks.
they had to eat that crap from.
Yeah.
I mean, the Seahawks is a weird one, right? Because actually they didn't do it, and they went and got a different quarterback, and it looked like they needed to, and actually they went and won a Super Bowl. So. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is the best example of how you should do a rebuild. Obviously, they need to get the picks right and they need to make the right moves from here on out. But for me, you've stripped back to the studs and you're going, we can now start from the top again. Somebody asked on TikTok, like, is this like, how many times do we need to rebuild? And I'm like, this is the rebuild. All those other half-assed rebuilds you did over the last 15 years were not this. This is proper, strip it back, start from, act like you're almost a brand new franchise and give yourself the best opportunity to build a great young.
And what's great, they've signed David Ajabo, Scotland's David Ajabo. He's on a 1-year deal. And that the team is so bare that he will get game time and we will be able to see what he can do. So much promise coming out of the 22 draft, and it didn't really materialize because of injuries with the Ravens and other stuff. So we get to see that. I'm really excited to seeing that. My man Tutu Atwell and Jalen Tolbert in wide receiver on real prove it stuff. And of course, they'll always have Devon Etienne in the backfield as well. So
It has taken away a little bit from, we were excited when Malik Willis signed at the idea of Waddle, Willis, Achane, who I think they could still definitely
Etienne.
move on from, or like that was an exciting core. And it was a team who were like, we thought they could score like 35 points a game, but concede the same as well. I do think this immediately takes away from that when your wide receiver room is Tutu Atwell, Jalen Tolbert, and Malik Washington's probably your number one right now.
Yeah.
Although if you're a rookie and you're going in there, you've got a great opportunity to put your impact on early.
Well, you know what the Dolphins could do? They could sign or go for someone like AJ Brown. Now on X, Twitter,
that was great. That was great linking, buddy. Like I appreciate what you did there. On
X, the artist formerly known as Ross Tucker, friend of the show, Will Gavin, kind of me, I guess. Met him once, I think. By proxy, Sam Harris as well. He said, so what is AJ Brown worth on the back of Jaylen Waddle's trade? I will go to our resident Philadelphia Eagles fan, Sam Harris. What is AJ Brown worth?
I mean, what he's worth and what they'll end up getting for him are two different things. And do you know what? I don't even think so. Maybe he's the way he ended the season this year, and he showed a lot of signs of it the year before. He just looks petulant. And I think realistically, the Eagles are going to want a first and a high third, maybe a second. I think. Well, I don't even know. What did they turn down from the Pats, or reportedly turned down?
So apparently a 1 and a 3 was apparently what they were the most they were willing to go to. Apparently they want a 1 and a 2, which
I mean they're going to be late ones as well, considering how far the Pats got.
I think you could massively argue that AJ Brown, in terms of on-field production, has been a better player than Jaylen Waddle. That's fair. Like, AJ Brown has been a top 5 receiver at points during the last 3 or 4 years. And last year was a big down year for him, but you could blame the offense and the way they approached it. The problem is that is anyone going to pay that, considering the contract, considering the strength of the draft, considering the fact that he's not been easy to deal with for the team? Like, he has been someone who has, like, he's not full on off the field issues. This guy's not Terrell Owens. This guy's not Brandon Aiyuk. No. This guy's not like having like full on, meltdowns off the field, but he's also not proved particularly easy. And I think what was interesting today is when this reporting came out, is that apparently if they trade him before June 1st, they'll have $40 million in dead money for AJ Brown this year. If they wait until after June 1st, it halves to 20 million. It's 20 million a year of the next 2 years. With the current cap, you can afford that. You can actually handle that kind of dead money. But as a team, I guess what you need is a wide receiver needy team to miss out on who they really wanted in the draft. Say the New England Patriots decide, or the Rams even, like, they just don't get the guys that they want and they need to go all in. Maybe somebody in June or July gives them a first plus. But I don't think I don't think Waddle is setting the market for him. And actually, apparently Denver were in for AJ Brown as well, which suggests that, they weren't willing to reach their price, but they were willing to meet this price on Jaylen Waddle is surprising. Like it kind
It
of
says
all
a lot,
smacks
that,
a little
doesn't it?
bit of a lot of the Eagles looking for more than people are willing to pay.
Yeah, I think they're doing that before the draft. And as you said, all it takes is a team to not get what they want, and then hopefully the Eagles will get something close to what they want. But I don't know, it's going to get to a point where if no one's coming in, they're going to have to start considering some options, because they don't want another repeat of a guy being on the sideline that clearly has no interest in being there and has completely lost all of his relationship with Jalen Hurts. It's a weird one. I personally thought someone would get done early with him, but proving otherwise.
I think it just shows that the culture isn't quite right there. Taking a bit of, it's been 2 years that AJ Brown has been a bit of a problem for the Eagles. We had stuff around the Brazil game at the beginning of 2 seasons ago. The various podcast things that he's been involved in and talking about people and everything else. So it's rubbed people up the wrong way, and that travels in the NFL. Although has Brandon Aiyuk been signed by the Commanders yet? Like, he's managed. If that happens, it just shows that the NFL will sign anyone. So it doesn't matter what you do off the field.
How do you guys feel about the Brandon Aiyuk situation? I know this is off running order, but there's been a really interesting discourse on kind of 49ers social media this week of people digging out the team for essentially, quote unquote, holding him hostage. It's very clear that the Commanders are his location, right? Jaden Daniels has made it clear he wants to play with his old college teammate. Aiyuk hasn't spoken out, but it seems like that's the location where they'd be willing to give him some kind of prove-it deal, and they're desperate for somebody else there to line up opposite Scary Terry, and that's definitely someone they should look in the draft, but they're light on draft picks. I think Washington team will probably talk about coming up a bit more, but how do you feel as non-49ers fans about how the 49ers are handling the Brandon Aiyuk situation, keeping him there, trying to get a 7th round pick out of someone, and essentially not releasing him out into the wild?
I'm fine with it, honestly. I mean, he had to put up with all of his antics, and it's not just like reports of stuff that he'd done. He was filming himself do some of this embarrassing stuff, and it's like, you know what? If we've had to front up, and also as well have to give this guy a chance. It's just, do you know what? We'll make you sweat for as long as we can with this. I don't think it's holding anyone hostage. It's just, if you didn't want to be here, you should never sign the deal in the first place. And then to go on and do that, it's like, if I can get a 7th round out of you, I'll try my hardest to.
Richard Sherman made a really interesting point as well, which is like, at this point in the year, they cannot be training with the team anyway. And I imagine that Brandon Aiyuk and Jaden Daniels are probably on a beach somewhere, tossing the ball back and forth and getting that kind of chemistry back that they always had. But like, officially, you can't train with the team right now. Officially, you're having no involvement in football at this point in time. If Brandon Aiyuk does get traded for a late round pick, he gets traded with that massive contract that he earned, that he's definitely not played up to. And yes, he's lost a load of money because the 49ers have been able to avoid those guarantees. But actually, if he gets cut, Washington are going to be able to go, right, here's $8 million a year. You've got to prove it to us. And then hopefully for you'll then get a chance to earn big money again once you've proven it again. Like, actually, for the player, this is a good thing that he could end up earning the big money that he wants to still earn on that big contract. I think the most likely thing is they'll get to the draft. He won't move on. They'll cut him anyway. It's not hurting the team in any way because there are no guarantees. And then he'll go and sign there, and it'll have never hurt anyone. It's just this weird discourse around it. I saw somebody who kind of put a very positive Aiyuk spin on it, where they were saying both sides are at fault here. He's clearly made a mistake by not reporting to the team after the injury, and when he felt like he was being slighted, and when he felt they shut him down for the year. But you cannot take one mistake and treat him completely differently based on it. And I'm like, there's one mistake not reporting to the team and going out of contact with them. It's then speeding past the facility, filming yourself on social media, going on Instagram Live, like all that stuff that he's done that And I hope that if there is a mental health issue there, that he is being looked after and somebody is seeing to him and somebody is making sure that he's okay. Like, because it comes across that might be the case. But if you want to take it on a pure football basis, I think most teams around the NFL are happy that the 49ers are holding him a bit to account and not allowing him to just go and immediately go and make money somewhere else, because certainly the NFLPA, certainly the NFL itself don't want this kind of thing to be happening.
Yeah, it sets a precedent as well. I think that in itself was just as important. So I'm with you there.
I love
think
that
it's a matter of
this
principle,
show was
right?
meant to be about free agency, and we've done just 20 minutes of receiver chat. Good stuff, boys.
Well, I think it's a matter of principle, and I'm glad that the 49ers are sticking to their principles about it, because, all right, they won't be held to ransom by any player, and I commend that. For my 10 cents, well, Brandon and I could be going to the Commanders, and they are one of our teams that we're going to talk and say, have they got worse? I was trying to do my Matt Berry then. I don't know whether it worked. Matt Berry, who, by the way, should be doing a load of NFL player names after his incredible names, the way he pronounced the Hollywood names at the Oscars the other day.
So
that would be
good.
amazing.
So funny.
Yeah.
Somebody did comment. I posted the video of him pronouncing all the names just on my Insta story, and I saw it the next morning. Thought it was really funny. And somebody replied, going, "If you're not announcing the starting 11s like this at the London Games next year, then you've missed a trick." I don't really want to rip off Matt Berry's bit, but it was very, very, very funny.
It'd be an homage.
Do it.
An homage. It'd be absolutely an homage. So you must do it. An homage. Okay, let's take a quick break, guys, and afterwards we'll do Are They Worse or Better? But are they worse? Right. We've faffed around way too much. Let's get into Are They Worse or Are They Better? Most of the faffing is entirely my fault, so I can only apologize to, Will and Sam.
Faffmeister General.
Yeah, that's me. Faf Mondu.
Faf du Plessis.
Faf du Plessis.
Oh, there we
Excellent.
go.
Yeah. Well, why don't you start us off with the Ravens? Because I know you've got a little bee in your bonnet about some birdie teams.
Yeah, the birdie teams have been picked on in a big way by me here. Look, I think, are they worse is the question that we're asking in this section. And I feel that the Ravens, you have to say that they're worse, because they made a big swing to go and get Max Crosby and then didn't after they decided to pivot off to Trey Hendrickson. And when we're doing this exercise, we're talking about right now, are they worse? They still have kept their 2 first-round picks the next 2 years. And if those 2 players land and turn out to be long-term options, then suddenly it looks like they've made the right decision. But as it currently stands, the offensive line is significantly worse. The weapons on offense right now are worse without Isaiah Likely, without Charlie Kolar, who's an excellent kind of blocking tight end. I know they brought in Durham Smythe, but much of a muchness as far as I'm concerned. And yes, they brought in John Simpson, but that hole at center is still absolutely horrendous. Trey Hendrickson isn't as good as Max Crosby, as much as I think he will be a difference maker for them. And I'm not saying like they're suddenly not going to be able to contend, but they've just lost bits at every single level and seen a real kind of talent drain. I don't like Draymond Jones going. I know that Carvan Noy could still come back, but they seem weaker across almost every level of the defense as well. It just, right now, pre-draft, a team that I'm much higher on their coaching staff and really thought to myself, this could be a splashy team. Post Max Crosby and losing one of their best players on offense and not replacing him, I'm not feeling great about them.
Are they better because of their head coach? Because does that balance it out enough?
I'd be fascinated to see what the defense ends up looking like this year. Like, it's the changes that they've made. A few of them I was slightly surprised by, but they still have brilliant coverage on the back end. If they go and get, if they use one of their top picks to go and get a safety in this draft, and there are some brilliant safeties, one of the deepest drafts out there right now. As much as they've lost pass rush, as much as I don't like, they lost to Dafeoe during the season last year. They maybe will feel like Trey Hendrickson makes up for that. The back end of this defense, if they look really good with the safeties, if like Jalen Hawkins turns out to be a good third safety and they can suddenly be like this great disguising team who confuse teams on the back end, who can then throw all sorts of exotic looking blitzes at you, the coaching staff could definitely make up for it. But I think if we're doing like a just strictly roster wise, are they worse right now? I think it's difficult to say they're not.
I think they're probably one of the most fascinating teams this offseason going into next season in terms of what's going to happen next year. And I think a lot of that as well has to do with Lamar Jackson. I think for the first time since probably he came into the league towards the end of last year, those doubters started to come back into play. And him not looking the two-time MVP that he has, he's missing throws. He's not. I mean, he's still got his legs, but it's only so long you can rely on that. New head coach as well. I think I have no idea where they're going to go this year. I mean, I would be just as surprised if they flopped as if they made it into the playoffs. But yeah, I think they'd be even worse had they ironically stuck with the Max Crosby deal. I think they've kind of saved themselves now, and especially in this year's draft, that they could actually go out and get someone. But yeah, I'd definitely say they are worse.
What's wild to me is that those weapons that Lamar Jackson has. Now, in this last year, it must have been to do with injury that he didn't run as much as he did before. He did spend some time injured. He didn't throw the ball as well as he has done the previous 2 seasons. And when you've got your number one guy being Zay Flowers, an aging Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman being your third best receiver, Devontae Walker, he showed a little bit in some games last season. With the 14th overall pick in the 2026 draft. Oh, I sounded like Roger Goodell then.
I've never thought that about you. I want to say that, be really clear.
Yeah. But so do they go and spend big and maybe get a wide receiver there? Or are there too many other holes elsewhere? That offensive line needs patching up. Like, what do they do? It's wide open. So, yeah, I'd have to agree. They are worse than they were last year, despite a change of freshen up in the head coaching stakes.
I think actually, I don't know why she just popped into my mind. We did speak about him earlier in AJ Brown. He could be someone that could be a massive difference maker for them. If you have AJ Brown, Derrick Henry back together with a bit Lamar Jackson, just go and outscore the other team. Don't worry about your defense. Is that something that maybe they should look at?
Never spent a first round pick on a veteran. Did it for the first time. Maybe they decide to do it again. Could be. Let me ask you, Sam Harris, the Indianapolis Colts, are they worse?
I think
we all know the answer to this, guys. They are most definitely worse. And the mad thing is, right, our off-season started being poor, believe it or not, during last season. When you go out and make the all-in win-now play of trading 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, you have to do exactly that. Win now. Not then only not to not win now, to then lose your quarterback to go out for the rest of the season, drop down to look, the season just completely fizzling out. You then go and overpay the same quarterback. It's just... Well, I understand some of the decisions they made because of that deal that they made for Sauce Gardner, but it just feels like we're trying to. I don't know. I don't know what we're trying to do, to be honest. It just feels like this is going to end in tears. I don't like what we've done on defense. As much as I didn't like Zaire Franklin, he was a bit of a nuisance off the pitch in terms of his podcast. Nothing else, just his podcast. The fans started to get his back for that, but the stats with him didn't lie. He was such a leader in our defense. And I think to then miss out on Hendrickson because of the Ravens debacle, everything just feels like it's gone wrong this offseason for the Colts. I do like the Alec Pierce deal. I think what they need from Jones and Pierce now is they need to be one of the most elite quarterback wide receiver duos in the league with the money they're both getting paid. But whether they're going to do that or not is another story. It's just, it just feels like I almost feel that I'm a bit jealous of the Dolphins fans now, where I'm just like, you know what? Let's just trade everything away and just start afresh. Feel like Football Manager with an unlimited budget.
I totally understand moving on from Braden Smith, but they didn't do anything to particularly address that in free agency. So suddenly, with their limited draft picks, offensive line becomes a big need. Michael Clemens is a man who looks like he's moving through treacle. Arden Key is a guy who's never quite lived up to his draft stock. I like moving on from Kwity Paye, moving on from Samson Ebukam. Like they're like trying to make this stuff up in the aggregate, and it feels like that's all very much of a muchness. I hate losing Nick Cross, particularly for the contract he went and paid elsewhere.
Yeah.
You could have paid him that. It's not a lot of money. So they definitely feel weaker right now, and in a division where, okay, I'm not suggesting anyone else has had a phenomenal off season right now, but there are a couple of very strong teams in there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of what the Colts have done right now. We're meant to be doing like here's some positivity around it. I'm not sure I can do that.
I've got some
we've
positivity.
Still got JT. We've still got JT. So
you've got JT. You've got Daniel Jones.
Who fell off a cliff after like week 9 last year.
You've got Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is really exciting. So
he is someone that I'm really excited about. It was a bit confusing to while we re-signed both of our kind of aging tight ends in Drew Ogletree and God, for the life of me remember.
No, Alec Cox.
Yes, and it's kind of like. I know it wasn't for big money, but it kind of just feels like, why do we keep hold of some guys that we could easily just let go of? And then your likes, as you said, of Nick Cross, who we could have paid. And he actually feels like he makes a difference as a starter. When you get players like Drew Ogletree back, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah. All right. Give us another one.
I'll ask you this time, Ollie. Are the Packers worse?
Okay, interesting choice of worse there. I thought you might have gone a bit more creative there. The Packers it's really interesting, the Packers, because on the face of it,
yes,
I would say yes, because they've got rid of Romeo Doubs, who's a key part of that collective wide receiver core. Kingsley Ngabate was brilliant in the midfield. I thought a better player than Quay Walker. Quay Walker has also gone as well. I'm not too worried about that. I heard on the Athletic podcast that the Raiders have got a bit of a steal there. I'm not sure whether he's reached the ceiling. There are some on-field
I think him
issues.
and Zaire Franklin, it's much of a muchness, honestly.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But then Jordan Love hasn't managed to complete a season, so Malik Willis has gone, and therefore far worse in the quarterback stakes. Emmanuel Wilson's gone, and they've still retained Matt LaFleur. So I'm saying that the Green Bay Packers are worse.
You've also lost Rasheed Walker, who's a startable tackle. Elton Jenkins, who, yes, he's had his injury issues, but he's a very good player when he is healthy. That offensive line is a concern, definitely. They have got some glaring needs in a draft where, again, no first-round pick because of the trade they made for Micah Parsons last year. And Parsons comes back in and makes a huge difference to that defense immediately, right, when he returns. So that's be ignored.
That's a big question. When will he return? By all intents and purposes, he could be a quick healer, but you just don't know. And you don't know whether he's still going to have that same get-off. And he's an absolute phenomenal talent, but you just don't know after an ACL what's going to happen with that. So there's an awful lot up in the air. I know they signed Javon Hargrave from the Vikings, and I quite like that. But, you've got rid of other players like Colby Wooden back to the Colts, and Rashan Gary gone to the Cowboys. All of these things. It's I think there's an awful lot of questions and awful lot of holes that aren't going to be answered.
What really I think needs to happen on that defense more than anything else is I think you've got one of the best safety tandems in the NFL, and with Billy Bowman coming in alongside Jonathan Gannon, I think there's potential for the back end of that defense to be really exciting. I think you need to upgrade the talent at corner. Like, I know Benjamin St. Juste came in on a pretty kind of tasty, team-friendly deal, but Trevon Diggs gone, Nate Hobbs gone, who played a lot of nickel for you last year. I think the safeties are very good. I think the corners is a place where I would expect some upgrade. Keyshawn Nixon, when he's healthy, is a good player, but
when he's not causing the multiple penalties that he seems to cause in these crazy situations. He's like, yeah, I don't want to say, but it's so annoying that he has all of that talent. He's a great returner as well, although that will be gone now with Sky Moore being brought in. But yeah, the Packers are worse, and they're worse in a division, well, where it feels like maybe only the Vikings have got significantly better, and that's because of the gargantuan upgrade in a tiny man quarterback.
Tiny man quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Will Gavin, are the Seahawks worse?
So here's a really interesting one from my perspective, because at the top end right now of the NFC, and the kind of odds at this time of year are always something to be ignored, as we saw from last year's Super Bowl, two teams who had as longer odds as anyone to win the Super Bowl going into the season end up making it to the big game, right? But right now at the top of the NFC, basically the three NFC West teams are 1, 2, and 3. And right now the Seattle Seahawks are 1 of 2 and 3. If we were to assume health right now, and I know that's a big assumption, I don't think that the Seahawks should be the favorite for that division. I would have the Rams above them, and I think that I would potentially consider the 49ers above them as well. And my issue is, right, take the 4 losses that they've had from this roster in each individual decision, and you can completely understand why a team who have just won the Super Bowl might have a talent. Kenneth Walker moves and goes to the Chiefs. Boye Mafe, huge contract to the Bengals. Tariq Woolen going to the Eagles on that 1-year, $12 million deal. And Kobe Bryant, now a Chicago Bear. But those are 4 players who had a huge part of this Super Bowl victory. Even Tariq Woolen, who turned into a rotational corner for them, was a guy who I think the fans got frustrated with, because in big moments he had some poor moments, but I would say if you watch him down to down, snap to snap, he's still a good corner. And I see who they have replaced him with. They keep Josh Jobe. They bring Noah Igbinoghene today. Emmanuel Wilson, right? I would say that you cannot argue that they are not a roster who right now are worse, right? That's just on paper. It's the fact that people keep saying, but they're a Super Bowl winning team. They have to accept that. That is the kind of talent drain you have. Except they've got $40 million in cap space that they've not spent right now. And actually next year, yes, they have some good young talent because they've had a couple of good drafts who they're going to need to pay. But next year, they've got even more cap space. And I think that when you are a team who have had the year you've just had, who have had that magic down the stretch, who have pulled together, like, the fact that guys like Josh Jobe had such a sensational year last year coming from the position he did as an undrafted guy, the fact that you have had Tyre Carter come in and have such an unbelievable year as an undrafted guy, like, those are the kind of guys who I desperately want to see stick with my team, and who I think, like, in the aggregate, we're winning games because of those guys. And they had the money to pay them. And they are a team who could have easily been a return to the Super Bowl team this year. Like, they could easily be a team who could go back to back. And I just think that in such a tough division, with such a tough schedule potentially this year compared to last year when their out-of-division rivals were much easier, I just think spend the money, keep the guys, roll it back for 1 year, try and get them on a hometown discount. And I was just a little bit surprised that they were so willing to let those guys go out the door. Pay Kenneth Walker $14 million a year. Like, they are significantly worse at running back. And when you consider on top of that, they only have 4 picks total in the 2026 draft. 4 picks total. For me, whilst they should still be a favorite in the NFC because they still have a huge amount of that Super Bowl talent left over, I think they have taken a step back and don't have a lot of ways out.
It's absolutely balmy, isn't it? That they've got 4 picks, and the biggest need is in that running back room. All right, the running back class isn't that great this year.
You just can't see them picking a running back when you've only got 4 picks.
4 picks, you can't. So, and then Emmanuel Wilson, okay backup, but Zach Charbonnet coming off an injury is also an okay backup. You can't rely on him to be your main guy. Okay, he was all right, but that's because Kenneth Walker was, okay as well. Even then, their run game during the season wasn't even that good.
Sorry, Ollie, if you're John Schneider of the Seahawks and you're starting to now panic a bit at that running back position, do you contact the Dolphins and see how much of a rebuild they're in and look at someone like a Devon Achane?
Absolutely, 100%. And I thought they should have been a team who went for, like, you think about the other guys who are out on the market. If you're not going to keep Kenneth Walker, like the Tyler Algier contract, like, okay, yes, he's another guy who's been part of a two-headed backfield, and he basically is the Falcons' Zach Charbonnet, but you kind of think that the two of them together could be a worthwhile 1-2 punch in what may well be a pass-heavy offense again. Like, there are guys who have been available who they haven't gone and got, and it's a bad running back draft. Like Jeremiah Love, and that's basically it. And you're not getting him at pick 32. So, like, I was really just surprised that when we talked about those moves at the time, I didn't think about the wider picture. I just thought about the moves in isolation. I didn't hate them. Now I've looked at the wider picture. I think you don't feel like a Super Bowl team to me anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Should we quick fire through a few? I know, Ollie, you wanted to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Are they worse?
Yeah, they've got to be worse. They lose, I think, one of the most impactful linebackers in terms of turnovers last season in Devin Lloyd. They've lost Travis Achane as well. Just those two kind of figureheads. Who's expecting Bashal Tucson to be the bell cow, touching the ball 25 plus times a game? You just can't expect that. So I think in a season where some of the other things have lined up, and you saw an uptick from last year from Trevor Lawrence, it's the kind of time you kind of want to start thinking, right, let's go for this. And they've in my opinion have got worse. Disagree or agree?
I think it's very they're an easy team to pick and say they've got worse, but I think my feeling on them is that they've got some excellent young talent who I think will develop into next year. Particularly Travis Hunter played more at corner. I'm excited for. I still think, like, all this talk about trading away Brian Thomas Jr. seems madness to me. I think Jacoby Myers made such a difference to what that offense does, and Brian Thomas started to grow into the offense that year, that in year 2 of this new offense, I think he'll take another step forward. I'm still a big Parker Washington guy. Like, Brenton Strange makes a big difference when he's on the field. Like, I'm positive about what they've got there. I don't like the loss of Devin Lloyd, considering we saw the big difference that it made when he was out of that team against the Rams at Wembley and the few games beyond that as well. But it's been made very clear by James Gladstone that, having made that big splashy trade last year, that they want to be a team that this year don't go and overpay guys and focus on compensatory picks and focus on trying to rebuild through the draft and make that their focus. And I kind of feel like, yes, they are slightly worse, but I wouldn't say they've lost significant pieces. And I kind of feel like running back, again, much like the Seahawks, is probably that one big area of concern. But outside of that, I kind of feel okay about where they are right now. Like, I still think that they are right now my favorites for the AFC South.
Do you think Foye Oluokun's 4-year deal a couple of years ago for $45 million kind of is a bit of a steal now, when you 100%. Think of, like, he's so good in that position that he's probably only got, if he's lucky, one more contract left. He's 30 years old. Maybe he doesn't even have that. But that is like one of the absolute steals of the century when looking at how good he's been over the last couple of seasons.
When you're a front office, though, that ends up making deals like that and you realise how much of a bargain you got them for, surely it makes you a lot more confident in your own ability to do deals like that with other players. So there are going to be times we might look at it being like, why they let so-and-so go? But then again, we never would have questioned the signing of that and how much she was going to get. I think they kind of buy into themselves when they've had success like this. And I really like what the Jags are doing. We said it all season. As you said, well, they're your favourites for the AFC South. They're my favourites for the AFC full stop.
Oh, here we go. Spicy.
Yeah. I've said it a couple of times over the
Yeah.
past few months, so we'll clip that up when they make the Super Bowl. I think I'm going to chuck a team out there. As we've pretty much said that every single team so far has got worse. Again, us being super positive. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the Bears, and I'm going to say they haven't got worse, but I'm also going to say they haven't got better. They've kind of just stayed the same. I think when you lose Drew Dorman to retirement, you can't really foresee that coming. DJ Moore, look, I think they're super talented in the wide receiver room. I really like Rome Odunze. I think Luther Burns is going to take another big leap. So to get a second-round pick for DJ Moore, I don't hate that. I kind of think they've got enough young players and a hungry coach that their players are just going to be getting better anyway. So maybe it's kind of offsided by some of the off-season moves they've done where it's just leveled out.
What I would say is, and I know Ollie's not going to be positive about them, so allow me to be, is that they've put themselves in a situation right now where you would argue that they are objectively a worse roster, right? When you lose a superstar, as Drew Dorman proved to be, center for them because he decides to retire out of nowhere, that is a big loss. And some of the moves they've made on the back end of the defense, I would say, like Devin Bush for Tremaine Edmonds is probably a bit of a wash. Maybe I prefer Edmonds slightly, but not a huge amount, not enough to be sweating about it. Yes, I think the DJ Moore signing, we'd kind of accepted that was coming. He had such fewer touches last year already. We knew that they were going to move on. So I don't know if I'm considering that really strongly. I think Khalif Raymond is not as good of a player as DJ Moore. But I think for me, Garrett Bradbury, whilst not as good, if you told us that they were going to lose one of their key pieces on offense to retirement out of nowhere and they came away with Garrett Bradbury. It's a little bit like I feel about the Browns. And I know I'm kind of bringing another team in here, but Ollie threw out the Browns as one that we could talk about here. And for me with the Browns, it's like they lost their entire starting offensive line, all of them, all 5 of them to free agency. And yet,
so Browns
to then come out with a situation where 4 of the 5 positions I feel pretty good about if they're healthy, and left tackle maybe being the thing that Don Jones is a guy I haven't watched a huge amount of, if I'm going to be frankly honest with you, since he came into the league. But if they end up finding a player in the draft there, I look at the 5 that they'd then have with Titus Howard, with Tevin Jenkins, Elton Jenkins, and Zion Johnson, and think to myself, actually, I'm kind of fine with that, considering this could have been an absolute disaster zone. It's probably about as good as it was last year, which is a slightly below average offensive line, but you've replaced 5 players and you've come out about a wash. And I'm kind of like, that's fine. And for the Bears, I'm like, it's rough as houses that you lost a guy like that, but you've found a startable player who is going to be okay, and you can think about the long term beyond that. So I'm kind of fine with it. I think they are worse on paper, but I'm not kind of, clutching my pearls.
The Browns have taken the longest, most scenic route in the world to end up in the exact same place.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you say that. I think there's a lot of injury concerns for me from Elton Jenkins. I think maybe his life doesn't remain as a center and he pops out to a guard somewhere here
I
or
kind
there.
of hope so. I like him at guard more than I do center anyway.
Yeah, and look, they've got 2 picks in the first round of the draft. I think 6 and 24. So that's huge for the Browns. And what they do with those, who knows? I mean, they've got 0 people for either Gabriel Sanders or the man that must not be named to throw to. So do they do it there? Do they get someone to help out in that respect? They lost David Njoku as well, so he was their main pass catching kind of touchdown option. But I do like the 2 running backs, and you expect one of those first round picks to go on the offensive line.
Should we throw out a few quick fire ones that were kind of names that came up? Because we had 11 teams that we put on our list, and some of these we probably don't need to go into too much depth about. I'm just going to say, for the Detroit Lions, for a team that were really on the verge of something special, I feel like they've really come back to the pack. Like, similarly, getting Cade Mays when you've lost your starting center and you've managed to do that in a couple of years, I'm fine with. Cade Mays is a solid player, but they've not managed to sort out the left tackle situation since they've moved on. And defensively, they've got such a clear hole in the pass rush beyond Aiden Hutchinson, and they've done nothing to really address it at all at this point. Not even gone and found some of those rotational guys who were available kind of on the back end. I think is a real shame. They're definitely worse at running back as far as I'm concerned, losing David Montgomery. Like, I feel like they are slipping slowly backwards and returning to the pack. And unless something very special happens, or unless they have an absolutely phenomenal draft, I think that is a potential concern. Anyone else want to throw anyone else out there?
Yeah, I'd like to throw out the cards. I think, their two quarterbacks are Garrett Minshew and Jacoby Brissett.
Neither of those names were right, but that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He knows he's getting closer to doing the outro.
I was never that big a fan of Kyle Murray. But then he won me over. He had a couple of good seasons. Exactly, Casamoza. So I think just losing him and letting him walk, despite everything else, and they've lost Gannon, I just think that they are a far worse team. I know that I quite like the Algier signing, but for a team that have those other three behemoths in their league, it almost feels like they should be doing the utter complete rebuild. Can accept your fate of being that fourth place again for this year and for next year. Stock and rebuild, and then go again and really earmark. You're going to take this quarterback from that team in 2028, and then just go all out and do it.
100%. Guys like signing Isaac Seumalo, like, that's not helping you. He's a decent player, but he's just a body for you at this point. Kendrick Bourne comes in as the wide receiver 3 or 4 on an okay team or a good team. You're like, actually, I quite like that signing. 2 years, 10 million. On this Cards team, I hate it. Like, they're kind of half tanking, and it's exactly what we said earlier. I just can't be having a half measure rebuild. You're all or nothing rebuilding, or you're just going to sit on the outskirts for the long term. And I feel like that's the team they are.
Do you think it's easier for some franchises to pull the triggers on stuff like this, just in the sense of, and hear me out, if you are Miami and you're worried, do you know what? We can't do a full rebuild. We're gonna lose season tickets. People aren't going to show up. I don't think that. I know I have to be fair. I'm probably going to contradict myself. I have seen the Hard Rock fairly empty at times, but I think that's a much more of a forgiving place to be annoyed at your team, knowing that, you know what? Let's go on Miami Beach, have a few tacos and a couple of beers. We'll go and watch the Dolphins. They suck, but you know what? It's a lovely afternoon out. You're not going to be doing that in Cleveland, Ohio, when it's absolutely caning it down. And I just think some franchises are a lot luckier than others to where they are in terms of their location, to what they can get away with doing.
Yeah, for me, I think it's not just location. Ownership is the biggest thing. Like, the prime example that I wanted to mention from one team that Ollie threw out was the Commanders, right? And actually, I think the Commanders are significantly better on defense. I hated what the Commanders did last offseason. They got older and slower, and like, they acted like they were a team who were a couple of pieces away, and really weren't a team that were a couple of pieces away. Like, it was very, very messy. And this year, they've gone and, they've overpaid for guys. Odafe Owe is way too big of a deal, but then they've thrown darts at Kelevon Chason, at Charles Omenihu. Like, I really like the Leo Chanel signing. I love the Nick Cross signing. I talked about him earlier, but like, how he's gone for less than $10 million a year is astonishing. Like, he's a guy who somebody who wants safety depth, or even a starting safety, should have thrown much more money at him than they have. Like, defensively, I think they are a significantly better roster right now than they were last year, and that's massive for them. But I still really don't understand, like, this is where it kind of comes down to that ownership thing, right? the decision to move on from Tyler Biadasz when he had a whole slew of people lining up to sign him the moment he was out the door. And from what I understand, they're only saving about $2.9 million on the cap. But they saved $8.5 million in cash, in actual money that they can then spend, which doesn't matter about the cap, but it does matter about like how you can front load contracts, how you can give signing bonuses, how you can like make it work for other people. They can't start with Nick Allegretti. Nick Allegretti is rubbish at any position, but particularly at center. Like they have to go and get themselves a center. And because they've traded for a bunch of guys in recent years, they haven't got a huge amount of draft capital either. There were other guys available. You know, we talked about, you know, the guy the Lions signed. Obviously, you could have gone mental and gone for like a Linderbaum or something, but like Garrett Bradbury, we talked about already. Like there were possible other options out there. I think just eat that cash and keep a guy who was solid for you, although had some injuries. That just kind of threw me a little bit. But outside of that, I think they've done a really good job. It's just that one move that kind of has me stroking my chin a bit. And also, their wide receiver room's awful, but if they can get Brandon Aiyuk in, which it looks like they're going to, that's going to make a big difference.
And Terry McLaurin is still like, you know, he's a great player. So if they can keep him fit, then great. It's just some of those other signings, like a Rashad White and Van Jefferson, who sounds like he should be like a country music star from Northern Ireland. No, that's Van Morrison. But either way, it's just. I didn't even. That was me live thinking at the set, like computing.
That was his rival at Irish Catholic school.
Yeah, it wasn't it. So I don't know whether Van Morrison went to Irish Catholic school. You might be upsetting a load of people there.
Sorry. Yes, I don't want to get involved in that. I apologize.
Yeah. But yeah,
on St. Paddy's Day as well.
Yeah.
The only other team we didn't get into was that we had on our list was the Bucks, and this is the antithesis of what we've just said about like doing the hard rebuild thing, right? Is when you are a team who are sitting just on that cusp of contending, when you're a team who think that you might be able to push over the edge, I want you to go out and do something big. And Tampa Bay have an issue in that they didn't do the most important thing that they needed to do, the big move they actually needed to make, which was to make the change at head coach. Are the losses they've made necessarily a huge hardship for them? You know, Mike Evans didn't play a huge amount last year. You know, they've managed to replace guys like Levante David, etc., and kind of keep again, we talked about the aggregate a lot today, keep it around about where they want to be with it. But they've done nothing. Like they're the position where they desperately need some help is at pass rush, and they've gone and got Al-Qadim Mohammed, fine. A'Shawn Robinson, fine. Alex Anzalone, fine. Guess what? This 10-win team looked like a 10-win team again. And it just makes you think of that Steelers team who couldn't get over the top because they never really made any big splashes, but just had a good enough team to contend. And maybe they go and win another division. But do you see them losing wildcard weekend again? Probably. Like, I just think the Bucks are close. They could have done something big, and they just kind of went, we're kind of fine as we are, and we'll drift, and then we'll change the head coach next year, and maybe we'll do something then. And I was just like, come on, boys. Give me some juice. Give me something exciting. Give me something to cheer for. And they really didn't. And yeah, maybe now they lose their NFC South crown, and they'll only have themselves to blame.
You kind of feel as well that...
Come on, the Saints.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I kind of agree with you there. I think they've kind of missed their chance with Baker. I can't just like he feels like he's had such an insanely up and down career, and it kind of felt like with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right, we might get to see the best of him now, and it just feels like they're not going to capitalize on it, and we won't really get to see him just make it to a championship or something like that. I don't know. It just feels like a couple of wild cards, not good enough.
Don't you think with this
so much, and it will be a real shame if he doesn't get an opportunity to show off on a big stage.
Don't you think this division, the NFC South, formerly the NFC Disgrace, has the opportunity for all of the teams to go 7-10 or 10-7?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like, out of all of the divisions, like, they're all pretty much. You could see the Panthers, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Bucks just having taking wins off of each other, getting a good win over here, but losing to the Tennessee Titans over there. You know, that kind of thing.
I think there's less chance of that not happening.
That's really good.
Oh, God.
That's the best thing you've said for a while.
The average division. But then if that happens, the Bucks will win the division again and go to the playoffs, and the Glazers can celebrate another successful year. Pour off. Do something fun.
Come on.
Fun.
Pull your finger out. We've gone so long. I just very quickly wanted to ask you, talk to you guys about some off-season recommendations. I've just binge watched Small Profits on iPlayer, and it's unbelievable. Mackenzie Crook writes and directs it. He has a small part in it, but it is one of Michael Palin's in it. It's set in Manchester. Sophie Winnock is in it. It's just it's really wholesome and lovely and funny. Great soundtrack. I've loved it. If anyone's like The Detectorists, they'll love this. Go out and watch it.
Oh, brilliant. I haven't got a recommendation, but what I have done is I've watched the first half of draft day with notes, and I will be watching the second half this Sunday to review on next week's podcast. And I forgot how much I loved and hated this film all at once. I've got so many notes. I've got so many notes from the first 20 minutes that I was like, you need to slow down because it will be an entire episode otherwise.
There is no other film that I would watch every year religiously, and I will watch. Like other people like, I watch The Holiday every Christmas or Love Actually. I will watch Draft Day every year, and I will watch Draft Day every year and kind of hate it and kind of love it and have a great time with it. I'm all on board for that.
Feels like it should be like a pre-draft ritual. You get the guys round and put it on at about when's the draft start? 1 a.m., isn't it? So put it on the first round, put it on at 10:30, get some beers, and then bosh. If you're not working on talkSPORT, that is.
Of course. If we're doing recommendations, I can't believe I've not done this on air anywhere previously because I bang on about it so much in my personal life. And now it has become the absolute show du jour, and it's finally coming to UK streaming at the end of this month. The best show on TV, and maybe the best show on TV of the last 10 years, is The Pit. And if you don't watch it, you're mad. It's so good. It's a medical drama starring Noah Wyle, him off of ER. It's super realistic. It's in its second season now, but it's not been available on UK streaming previously. It is the most emotional, tense, well-written, well-rounded, I think it is my favorite thing I've watched for years and years. And yeah, if you're going to throw yourself in something, we recommended it to our friends Sam and Sophs when we were up there for New Year's, and they started watching it while we were there. And like 2 days later, I just got a message from Sam going, "This show's very stressful." I'm like, yeah, but isn't it so good? So yeah, that's my big one, is The Pit.
It's HBO as well, which rule of thumb usually means is going to be class.
It's and the thing is it feels like a rubbish recommendation at this point because it literally picked up every award the award season. Like I think Noah Wyle became the first man to ever win every single TV acting award in the same season, like in the same award seasons. A few females have done all the acting awards before, but he's the first guy to do it. It's just brilliant. So good.
Well, it's for our wonderful listeners and viewers. Have any recommendations, head to acrosstheformation@gmail.com. Hit us up on the socials, Instagram, anywhere else as well. Will Gavin on Instagram and TikTok. Are you on TikTok, Will Gavin?
I am on TikTok. I'm Will Gavin NFL on TikTok because Will Gavin on TikTok is a random corner who plays for like Ole Miss or something. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
You've got to get his jersey.
It really threw me. I'll find it now. I'll tell you exactly who he is. But yeah, I come up as the first Will Gavin. The second Will Gavin, he's a Kansas. He's from Kansas City, and he's a cornerback for Indiana State.
You have to get that jersey. That's so good. That's so good. Sam Harris has plenty of jerseys to go for. And I'm not getting a Jacksonville Jaguars jersey. For Travis Unter. Well, thank you very much for your time, both of you two. We'll be back next week for loads more NFL stuff. In the meantime, we'll see you and on. That was all right.
It was. Well done.